Welcome to the Outstanding Shift podcast with your host, Andrew Evans from Rosby Financial. I'm your producer, RJ Malik. Andrew, how you doing today?
Great. Correct. Great as usual, King Friday. See, because we did that on the last one, so we're trying to have a stream of consciousness here.
I understand.
Talking
Okay.
about Fred Rogers. And so forth.
Okay, then why don't you tell us what you have lined up for this podcast?
Well, as we like to do, we like to have interesting people that are doing great, interesting things in the industry. And today we have Laura Garfield from Idea Decanter, which probably one of the most interesting names that as a provider to financial advisors, and I know you do other industries as well, but what a great name! And you're going to talk to us, and we're going to ask questions, and we're going to learn all about what's happening in the Pacific Northwest and what you're doing to improve the content for financial advisors. That's what we're doing today, Laura.
I am thrilled to be here. It sounds like a long list of things we get to dive into.
Absolutely. Well, let's start at the beginning, which is a good place to start. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization? And you have a wonderful, wonderful video about why it's called Idea Decanter, but we could direct people to your website. But can you give us a little taste? Give us a little snifter.
A taste is very appropriate because my co-founder and I started Idea Decanter back in 2014, and we were actually working with the wine industry. I was in Portland at the time. She was in Seattle. There are something like 800 wineries in Oregon, 900 in Washington. And if you haven't been to the Willamette Valley near Portland, it is worth a trip. Amazing Pinot Noir. But I digress.
Big hearts. No, we can. Okay, again, RJ, stop the tape. We're good. We like Pinots. We're good. That's. I'm all about the Pinots. All about the Pinots.
And that first year, we did a lot of videos about the harvest and the crush, telling the story of the terroir, what the winemaker felt came out of that particular vintage, what the tasting room experience was like, kind of the story behind the brands. And we started sharing that out on LinkedIn. And I happened to be connected with some friends in the financial services industry and started getting messages like, hey, I loved that video on the harvest and the crush. By the way, could you do a value prop video for the homepage of our website? And 2014 was sort of that first wave of advisors realizing, like, if I have a video on my website, when people come there, they can watch it and feel like they get to know me more and like me more and start to trust me more. And so about a year into the business, we took a hard look. And while we really appreciated the offers to trade cases of wine for our work, our financial advisors were making it into a legitimate, viable business. So we pivoted, and we really have been firmly in the financial services space since 2015, creating video for advisors to help them grow their businesses.
Cool. I absolutely fantastic. And pardon me for those that are watching. I keep looking down at my phone because as you're talking, I was like, I just want to make sure I got it right. Just so you know, currently the past 3 years, my favorite Pinot is from the Samuel Robert Vineyard. I love the Pinot Noir there. That's currently my favorite for about the past.
If you're into kind of that light flavored Pinot Noir that's a little bit sparkling, a little bit, something on your tongue, like it is an amazing trip.
Yeah. It's Willamette, damn it. So we got to go. So that's the thing. Okay. That's where we're going. That's what's going on. Okay. So with that in mind, here at the Outstanding Shift, it is time for the question. And so you have this wonderful body of knowledge. And now I'm going to ask you, because this is how I always ask it. Is that okay? Why are we as an industry, advisors and so forth, why are we so bad at creating video content? And you can be honest. We're all friends here. We're all friends.
It's throwing a lot of shade on the entire industry because there is a subset of the industry that has gotten pretty darn good at creating video content. But as a whole, the things that we hear that get in the way for advisors are often compliance fears. I don't know what to say. I don't have the tech skills. And that question was actually a piece of what led us to start digging in and creating this research project, which translated into the State of Advisor video report, because we wanted not just from our experience as video marketers talking about what's holding advisors back, we wanted to hear it from advisors. And there was a surprising piece of that, of all of the factors that we gave them in the survey to respond to about what's the problem. Cost was the least picked. So it was about 21% of the respondents said cost is what's holding me back from video marketing. The things that we heard at a much greater rate were things like, I don't know what to talk about. I don't have the time. I don't have the repeatable system. I don't know how to shoot. I don't know how to edit, and I don't know how to push it out. So all of that can feel like a lot. And I think that's the problem.
Because Laura, it is a lot. It is a lot. And all power to the advisors out there that are going to listen to this or that are looking at something else. Like, well, I could do that. I just go onto iMovie and I just record it and I just slide this over and it's all good. Well, I don't know why you can't do that. Hey, everybody's different, and most people don't have those amazing skills of editing and lighting and sound, and they can't put all those things together. It's just like, hey, I'm an amazing chef. I can't bake. Okay. So everybody's a little bit different.
And it's about knowing where, it's best to spend your time. I have been on so many calls with advisors who reach out after they have gone down the video editing rabbit hole. And they resurface and say, 3 days later, rubbing their eyes from being in a dark room.
Yeah.
Trying to trim clips, trying to put things together, render videos. And they say, I feel like maybe this isn't the best use of my time as an advisor. And I can relate because I could edit you a video, but I certainly would not be the person to put together your financial plan. So stick with your skill set, I guess.
So do you, we should talk about it. Just a quick pivot here with what you do versus what people say. Oh, well, I can do this with AI. Now, mind you, I like AI. I'm a fan of it. We use it a lot. But being the artist, I'm like, So what? How do you guys feel? Are you using it for anything? Do you guard against it? Like, what's your feelings there on it?
Yeah, I think any company that hasn't found ways to lean into AI in 2026 is behind, because there are so many ways to save yourself time in your process. And so we are certainly using AI. But what we know to be true is that the one thing the bots can't take away is our personal stories. And so to dig up that personal story takes real people to do it. And if you are an advisor looking for help doing that, we've got a process. So the AI stats I have seen out there are something like, in 2025, something like 41% of businesses had used AI to create video for their marketing, which is stunning. And that was, that data is 2025, and here we are sitting in 2026. Who knows what that's going to look like in 2027? It's a really interesting space to be playing in, though, for a financial advisor, because if you think about like creating an avatar video, is that creating trust with your prospects and clients?
Right.
Or
See, I thought about it through. I mean, if those are the numbers, I don't think that's a true utilization number. It's probably somebody checking back, like, yeah, I used it, but they didn't. They created something but they don't actually use it. That's very, very different. I mean, I see very little actual utilization of AI tools in video marketing. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not saying it's out there. But when I look across the field of advisors, I don't see as much. Now, content creation, maybe making a fun image, sure, we get that a lot. But in the actual like videos, I haven't seen it. And there was this
If
really
you
cool.
dig deeply on YouTube, there are entire channels full of avatar created videos that look like a real person delivering real information that has not been fact checked and is not correct. I do a lot of public speaking and love to show people, like, watch a clip of this video. Does this person look real to you? And, did you notice she's not blinking? Did you notice the cadence of her voice didn't change and that she never stumbled while she spoke? Well, it turns out in this 17-minute video, she delivers more than a dozen incorrect facts in a way that seems very compelling. I mean, these are Merriam-Webster's word of the year for 2025 was AI slop. And this is
Mhm,
what it is. It's
mhm,
channels on YouTube filled with AI generated video delivering content that some people will watch and think is legit
mhm.
without a second of hesitation.
Funny, not funny. Funny, not funny. I have an ongoing litmus test for
Mhm.
understanding if something is real or not. That is my mother. So my mother will say, "Is like, look at what this person just said. That's not real. No, it's totally not real. It's not real." So luckily, like she's doing that for me. She's screening these things, so so then I can then share it out. So not everybody has that, but I certainly
Well, I
get a
do
chance.
too. My mom texted me a quote from Thomas Jefferson the other day about advertising and
Mm.
saving yourself time. And I fact checked it and texted her back.
Yeah,
Not
I'm sure he was coming up with a lot of great advertising buzzwords in Monticello. Yeah, I'm sure that. Sure, why not? Yeah, yeah, that's fun. But you were talking before the your research, your report is that a one time thing? Do you do that every year? How often are you creating your report? I find that also to be extraordinarily fascinating. I got a question backing that up too.
Well, this is the first ever. And
Okay.
our intention is to do this every year to see how the data changes because we don't have anything to compare it to at this point. But what we found was for advisor video marketing, there just wasn't any good information out there about how many advisors were doing it. And I have been asked for over a decade by advisors, what are the numbers? And I used to kind of pull this random 5% because it felt right to me.
Sure. I
But
ended
it
up,
really
as we like to
wasn't
say.
based on anything other than it felt right. The only actual statistic I have seen is from some Kitseys research, and that was there was a marketing report that the Kitseys team pulled together in 2024, and the number that of advisory practices that were using video was somewhere between like 25 and 30%, but that was a subset of high growth firms. And so they had defined that
Mhm.
specifically. And so a good chunk, a third of high growth firms were using video. But in the broader sense, that number was closer to like 12%. So my gut instinct was a little low,
Mhm.
but we decided we wanted to pull some hard numbers in a survey. And so that was kind of how the State of Advisor video report was born.
Sure. Well, like this is a while ago now. That's a technical term, by the way. That's uh, Yeah, it's a technical
Also
term.
a way to warm up for your video recording.
That's true. That's true. We are going to be singing at the end of this. You're going to you do play the piano. I did see that. So you're going to play a
Very
song. We're going to
pitchy.
sing. It's going to be good. It's okay. It's okay. It was 5 years ago, maybe a little before, like right before the whole COVID thing, then during it, everybody got really, really, really enamored with doing things like Bomb Bomb, right?
Mhm.
As a program and doing that. But then I feel like it just like disappeared. But like during that time, so many advisors were doing so well with that. And from my stable of people that I know across the industry, so many were popping up and utilizing it and doing it. And then it's like they just stopped. They like got like tired of it. So I don't know if your research said like, well, it was there, or maybe there's something to add. Like, does it trail off? So he's like, well, I did it for 3 years, but I'm just tired. Like, I don't know. I grew my AUM or I grew my base and I hired someone. I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, we did ask that question, are you video marketing? Are you not video marketing? Have you video marketed and stopped? We did want that delineation and to see if there was, and there is a set of that in our data. It's a small number. Off the top of my head, I think it was around 5% or less of the respondents had actually walked away from it. And I would say that one of the reasons we saw such uptake back in 2020 in the COVID era is because we couldn't be face to face. So it was at this
Oh,
point where we were
yeah.
like, okay, so how do we do this? How do we change how we communicate? And it really pushed advisors to do it. And what we found from the data is that the people who are doing it in a repeated way have figured out steps and built themselves a system that is repeatable. And that system is not super intensive. And
Mhm.
so the majority of the folks, of the advisors who responded, who are creating frequent content, are only dedicating a handful of hours each month to it, maybe 2 or 3 hours.
Well, can you speak to that for for our viewers on YouTube and our listeners on wherever they subscribe to their podcasts? Could you draw a distinction? Um, it doesn't have to be too in depth. We don't have that much time, but we could always do another one. Obviously, a difference between creating content on a social media platform, doing a podcast,
Mhm.
and then doing a video advertising marketing strategy. Could you
Well,
kind of
I
talk about, because
think,
I see them as all being a little bit different.
yeah, it certainly is. And I think for the vast majority of advisors, the place to start thinking about video content is what we call evergreen. So that's something you can create now and keep using for years. And, I talked about when Idea Decanter started and that first wave of people putting a value proposition video on the homepage of their website. Um, still a great place to start, having those foundational pieces in place. The story about your business, the story about you as an individual, your why story for each, advisor on your team, a process video. Those are videos that you can create once and should be working for you for years. So that's kind of what we consider sort of foundational video. And then the next step is content marketing kind of video. And that is for some folks podcasting, for some folks creating short form video that they're pushing out, weekly or every other week or once a month. For some people, that's continuing in kind of the horizontal landscape and creating content on an ongoing basis so that their clients and prospects keep seeing them, because at the end of the day, the real value of video is that they see you and they feel like you spent time with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting psychological connection there. I always say a guy I used to work with, who's like the mayor of Pittsburgh. I'm originally from Pittsburgh. I'm in Florida now. Just some people know that. You might not know that, but But I call him the mayor of Pittsburgh, but because you would see him everywhere. He'd always be at sporting events. You'd just see him downtown. You'd see him at some whatever festival. But like he never did advertising. And so he says, boy, he's pretty successful with what he does, but he's not advertising. I said, because he doesn't have to, but he's being seen. You have to be seen. And he is being seen on a one-to-one level with all of these people. And there's always something wonderful about going out in the public and seeing someone you know there. There's like everybody kind of just gets this like smile, like, oh, there's Laura, hey, and then they're in your head. So I always felt like if we do like video marketing, a podcast, a video, whatever it is, when somebody then sees you live, as it were, it's like, oh my gosh, or they just feel like they're a part of you because they got to see you in short format or a podcast. I mean, have you seen now that's me eyeing it up with the 5%, as you said before, but do you find that to be rooted in any sort of truth that, well, people just really do like to be connected in a way?
Yeah, I do think that what is missing in that equation is that we live in a digital age and we spend a whole lot of time on our phones. I think the average person spends about 17 hours a week watching video online, and that stat has been pretty steady since COVID. We really started watching more video
Mhm.
during the pandemic, and it has continued. We're not stopping. So when it comes to creating video content to be seen like the mayor of Pittsburgh, like you're just kind of saving yourself some time, right? Like he can go to the game and be seen by the people who were at the game, or he can go to the game and record a little video and share it and be seen by potentially anyone around the world.
Yeah. Yeah. His daughter's now in the business. I think she's going to take up the torch now, which I think that might be a little bit easier for her to do. From I'm not being ageist. I'm just saying, skills change.
Yeah.
But what are some of the most recently what have been, okay, let's say, okay, we're just going to say it like this for when we're recording this. This is, I'll just say it's beginning of second quarter. I'm not exactly sure when we're going to put it out, but we'll say let's put recent media information aside for a moment, and I'll say, what have you seen over, say, the past 2 to 3 quarters of what are people mostly talking about? Like, what are the reoccurring themes that you're seeing the advisors that you work with talk about, or are there any?
Well, yes, there certainly are. I mean, with the number of businesses in the country that are expected to be sold within the next decade, there are a lot of advisors out there who are specializing in the business exit. So
Interesting.
we are creating a lot of content that is specifically targeting those business owners and the questions they have in that run up to the exit. Um, but I think that leads to a really important point about what kind of content is working now. And it is very specific content because video used to be more of an anomaly back when we started doing this for advisors in 2014, 2015. And today there's something like 720,000 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every day.
Hmm.
So there is a flood of content, and in order to be heard, be visible, you have to be very relevant, not to everyone, but to the people you are trying to attract. And the more narrow you can get and really speak to what they care about, the better your content does. So for those folks who have specialized in working with Costco employees who are about to retire, just retired, or folks who need an ESOP or whatever. The more specific you can get in talking about those pain points that your ideal client has, the more it will resonate. Another trend we're seeing is short form video, because attention spans have definitely come down, and a resurgence of long form video. So, kind of that 60-second or less catching attention, and then people being willing to go and taking a deep dive. So, a long conversation on a podcast or an in-depth dive into a particular topic for your very specific niche ideal client. Those are the kinds of things that we talk a lot with our clients about.
Do you help them curate and or clean up, and like after a certain time, hey, that thing we recorded in 2023, let's just go ahead and take that down and put that somewhere else? Do you do that, or do you leave it up to, maybe it's a blend? So how do you actually work with your advisor?
I have a podcast myself called The Real Finfluencers, where I interview advisors who are out there doing great work on their own, or some of them with us. But one of the things I love to do is go to a YouTube channel and click on the button that's oldest videos and pull up where they began. And my advice and the overwhelming feedback I get from these real finfluencers is that you should leave everything up. Because it not only adds to the number of videos you have in your library, and that adds to your legitimacy, but it shows you how far you've come. And your first video is always going to be your worst video, but it's good to see that you make progress. Sure.
No, that's very good. Then we're drawing close to the end here, Laura. But this has been fun. But I got to ask, because I saw it. So where are you originally from? How do you go from SMU? So how do you go from going to that small university, SMU, to now being up in the Pacific Northwest? Just one. I love. My brother he was Portland and Seattle. He was a Google guy. He's been on the podcast too. So like I get it, but like I'm just interested.
Well, it's a circuitous route from
Dallas,
goodness,
you
Texas
win
to Seattle.
You win the word war. You win. You win.
My husband and I are a bit of gypsies and have moved a lot. So I did about a decade in TV news, and to move up in that industry, you move on. And so from Dallas, Texas, I went to Hastings, Nebraska for my first TV news job, where I would get all the gear and go out and shoot all the news of the day and go back and edit it and write the show and anchor the show and do the weather with no meteorological training. So that was an interesting stop. But we went to Omaha, we went to New Orleans, we went to New York City, Kansas City, Atlanta, Portland, now Seattle. So we've moved a lot, some of that for my career, some of it for his. But we've gotten to live in a lot of great places in the country.
Yeah. What have you found? Like, what's been enjoyable about moving around? Like, I know it probably gets to a point, but anyway, I'm just like, what have you learned? What have you learned about your travels? What's a commonality?
Well, one of the most interesting things I've learned is my relationship to my stuff, because on our last move in 2022, our moving truck caught fire, and we lost everything we owned in the move.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we had become so casual about the things getting packed up and moving to the next place that there had just been no second thoughts when that moving truck pulled off in front of the house. And it was a traumatic experience to go through. And I know a lot of people, go through house fires, wildfires, they lose their things, floods. We were in New Orleans through Hurricane Katrina. But for me, that experience of kind of reprioritizing what was important and what you needed in your life was a really valuable life lesson. It was hard on my kids too. I had a sixth grader and a freshman in high school. So we all went through learning a new relationship with material things.
Yeah. Very, I like to harken back to movies as part of the main plot in like Fight Club. Just blew up the apartment to get rid of all your stuff. Not that you intentionally did that, but like there is something to like, those are just things. We can't replace us in the family, but those are things. And yeah, that we could start a whole nother podcast just about that. I'm a big believer in not having I'm not a minimalist, but I have, over my period of time, I've become an essentialist as to, well, does this really matter? Do we really need this? Do we really have to have these things? Does this better us, and so on? But that's for another time. We're coming up to our end here, Laura, and maybe we should do another one. Maybe we should do another podcast and just chat more about all the fun things about media. But last word from you. What's something that an advisor team, an enterprise looking to do something? What should they consider first before just doing whatever, or saying like, I'm just going to have Claude make me a video? What should they be doing?
Well, I would say for anyone, consider starting with those foundational videos, the things that are evergreen that can keep working for you year on year, because content marketing can seem daunting, and it is not for the faint of heart. And it does take a repeatable system, as I'm sure you're very aware.
I can't do this without
on the
RJ. Can't do it without RJ. Nothing works without that man. And
So
others
start
and
with
others and
stories that you
others.
can use over and over. I think that's my takeaway.
Yeah, start there. And obviously, as everybody knows, they just go to Idea Decanter first. That's really what they do.
IdeaDecanter.com is a great place to start. And we do have all of the findings from this State of Advisor video report available, and you can download them on our website. So that's worth checking out, because it can give you a sense of what's happening in the field, what is working for other advisors. And there are a lot of tips and takeaways baked into the numbers that if you're thinking, maybe 2026 is the year I finally embrace this, or maybe 2026 is the year that I finally take what I'm doing to the next level, I think you'll find some valuable information in there for you.
Absolutely. We'll end up pulling that and referencing that. We'll do our best to get more people. I'm really looking forward to reading that whole thing. I really am. But unfortunately, we're now at the end of our time. So I'm going to say to RJ, play us out.
Okay, but before we do that, how about contact information for you, Andrew?
Well, for me, as everybody knows, drop me an email or give me a call. Hit me up at 321-209-0157. You'll find my contact information in the various links. You know how to get me.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. And most importantly, thank you for listening to the Outstanding Shift.
RJ, we need more from Laura real quick. Laura, how do you want everybody to get a hold of you?
Well, tracking me down on LinkedIn is always great. Very active there. Lots of videos. Laura Garfield. You can always reach out to me too at laura@ideadecanter.com.
There we go.
Okay. So thank you. And most importantly, thank you for listening to the Outstanding Shift podcast. If you've not subscribed to the podcast, please click the subscribe button below. This way, when Andrew and his team comes out with a new podcast, it will show up directly on your listening device. And we humbly ask you to share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review, because this actually helps others find it. Again, thank you for listening. And for Andrew and Laura, I'm RJ Malik, and we look forward to you joining us for the next Outstanding Shift podcast.
Thank you for listening to The Outstanding Shift. Don't forget to hit the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our websites at www.ouroffice.team, www.rossbyfinancial.com, or give us a call at 321-209-0111. The information provided in this video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Past performance is not indicative of future results. You should consult a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions.